You're
pull
moving
items.
to,
I move to pull items 1, 2, and 3 for separate discussion and vote.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, objections? We'll pull those items. Supervisor Miller.
Madam Chair, if I would just ask for one clarification. Excuse me, Supervisor Miller, did you want to vote on each one of these separate or the three as a group?
I'd like to vote on item 1 and 2 separately, and then item 3, I'd just like a clarification.
Very good. Thank you.
On item 1 and 2, we have a combined $106,000 for youth services programs. And on item 1, we have $31,000 coming from the general fund. And on item 2, $76,000 from the general fund. And this is the reason that I did not support the fiscal 13-14 budget. These are prime examples of why I voted against that budget, is because we're increasing property taxes and placing the burden on the backs of taxpayers in order to fund these types of programs. I'd like to see us reduce our spending as we slowly emerge from one of the most difficult economic crises in history. And I hope that we do not begin fiscal year 14-15 with this same type of budget process. So my objection on item 1 is the $31,000 coming from the general fund, so I move to deny the approval of item 1 on the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor
I'll
Elias.
move items 1 and 2 on consent.
I wasn't finished with item 2.
Excuse me?
I wasn't finished with making my motion on item 2.
Nope. I thought the chair said that, excuse me, I apologize, Supervisor Miller. I thought the chair said the motion died for lack of a second. Unless I misheard. Did I mishear?
I think the motion was only related to item 1.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
On item 2, I move for the same reason that we're pulling $76,000 from the general fund to fund this item, and again with the same comments.
Excuse me, we have to deal with item 1 before we move on to item 2.
Okay. Okay,
What-
I thought
what
it
it-
died for
Yeah,
lack of a
just a
second.
point of order. What's the pleasure of the board on item 1?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move item 1.
Motion and a second to approve item 1. Objections?
No.
Supervisor Miller votes no. Any further objections? If not, motion carries 4-1. Item 2, Supervisor Miller.
Same objections on item 2. I move to deny item 2 because $76,000 is coming from the general fund, and until we reduce our spending and emerge from one of the economic crises, I do not believe we should be funding this item, so I move to deny this item.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move item 2 on consent.
Motion and a second to approve item 2. Are there objections? Item 2?
Yes, on item 2. No.
Supervisor Miller objects. Are there any other objections? If not, motion carries 4-1 with Supervisor Miller objecting, voting nay. Moving